Hello everyone, this is Marcel and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. Today I would like to discuss how women can break down men during the course of a relationship or really in any interactions. How they somehow manage to take a strong, confident, powerful male and over time gradually whittle him down into a shell of his former self. Then when he's at his most vulnerable, do the finishing blow and move on to rinse and repeat. Now obviously, and thankfully, this is not the case each and every time. But it is enough so that I can almost assure that every single man has gone through this experience or likely will at some point. Far too many of them are unaware of the process and will repeat it or permit it to occur over and over again, oblivious to what is happening. Of course, we're referring to men that are still on the plantation. Now there's actually a few different processes that take place here, so I'm going to introduce a few different concepts. Firstly, when it comes to training, let's say for example like an energetic dog. It would be nearly impossible to get them to sit down and listen to you when you're trying to show them how to shake a paw or something. They're going to be all over the place, running, hopping, licking, crawling around. You can't get them to sit still, right? They've got too much energy. So you take them out, you run them for a while, you wear them out. When they're tired, then they can focus, is when you start to actually train them. So the concept behind this is that when something doesn't have the attention span because of its excessive energy, you take away that energy and it allows it to focus on one thing at a time. This also prevents that energy from being kind of a defense against the training. Another example, something fairly similar, when the military wants to teach combatives or martial arts to their soldiers, depending on the branch, they will typically wear them down for days even before any of the training actually starts. And the reason why they do that is if you put two different people against each other in the form of martial arts that they're learning, one will usually be stronger than the other and will lean on that strength to win the fight as opposed to leaning on the training. So by wearing them out, you force them to use specifically the skills that they're taught as opposed to their brute strength, their advantages in the fight. So taking those two concepts, realize that energy is both a defense and can allow a person or an animal, as the case may be, to resist reprogramming. It allows them to be more functioning in the state that they want to be in, which is the same as a guy brute strengthening his way out of a fight because that is what he already knows he can rely on. Remaining the way he wants to be is keeping his confidence that he's still the winner and has not lost. Now let's look at another concept when it comes to interrogation, and I realize it's probably not something a lot of people are familiar with. I'm also not referring to it in the sense of information extraction. What the interrogator or the torturer wants is irrelevant. It could be like on that episode of Star Trek where Jean-Luc Picard has to say that there's 5 lights instead of 4. Or it could be denouncing the person's entire heritage. Perhaps getting a terrorist to admit where they've got all their hostages held. It just doesn't necessarily have to be information. And as there are different methods to train and become proficient at either sports or martial arts, there are also different methods to interrogate. So you may, in your training out there, have been taught differently than I was, or that my personal research has shown. So let's acknowledge that there are differences in the way a person would interrogate a female versus a male. And although said differences do extend between cultures as well, the gendered reality of it remains true. Now, I take no pleasure in discussing the concept of interrogation. It's basically breaking down a person's mental programming and resolve to convince them to go along with whatever the interrogator wants. It is never as simple, for example, as making a person thirsty and then offering them a glass of water, because that person, the person being interrogated, would recognize what was happening in being offered the water and would resist the trade. They would try and fight it. Another more effective method would be to find out what that person's specific weakness is, as well as their strength with which they would likely defend themselves against the interrogator. At that point, by pressuring their weakness, the interrogator then can take the assumed response by using their strength and redirect it to helping the interrogator accomplish whatever goal they have. So it's basically using the person's strength against them as opposed to focusing on breaking that strength down. In essence, it's predicting the outcome and conditioning the results via controlling the environment. If anyone has a different interpretation, please let me know down below. Moving on. Men are exceptionally powerful creatures. They have strength, they have resilience, they have tolerances, far beyond that of a female when it comes to physical prowess. Men will normally have an excess of physical energy. That's why they will frequently go to the gym, as well as find physical ways to burn off that energy. Working with their hands is a good example. Their second most common strength is going to be their creativity and their intuition, their intelligence. They're going to logic their way through things very well. Their weaknesses, as I've said before in previous videos, is going to be their emotional tolerance. They do not typically have either the ability to understand or incorporate their emotions as well. It makes them more vulnerable to feeling like they're in love when they're actually not. They also do not tolerate emotional damage as well. This is why emotional stability and strength is considered a very positive trait in males, and an overly emotional male is typically seen to be having weakness. Flip that over and you have females, which their emotional energy is actually their strength. They radiate it. They have tons of excess energy when it comes to emotions, to the point so where they almost have to burn it off either on their boyfriends, their friends, their relatives. They have to dump off all of the energy through drama, through gossip, maybe positive stuff too, like emotionally happy things. The point is that is their advantage to counter men's strength. Then their second most common strength would be like their multitasking and their ability to focus on several different things at once, but perhaps less directly on each. Now, if you were for a moment to strip away all the morals from society, take away all the bad feelings that comes from how people treat each other, bring it back to like a natural, primal state, it would be a balanced system. Emotional strength from women, physical strength from men, either side could use that strength against the other to get what they want. But in this society, emotional harm done to men is not taken seriously. It can damage and cripple a guy for the rest of his life, but so much even gesturing at a woman in a threatening way, and it's the end of the world even if no actual harm was even done. Guys can get arrested, thrown in jail, even charged with assault when there is no physical contact. The strength, the balance that is on men's side has been completely demonized and stripped away. Now, to clarify, I would never advocate any kind of violent behavior towards women, of course. I'm suggesting that the counterbalance to that needs to be addressed as well. To pull this all back on topic, women are not able to break a man physically. There's a process that occurs in the common relationship, whereas the man is put in situations where he continuously feels in a state of emotional stress. The pressure is there for whatever reason, day in, day out. There's always something wrong. There's always something that needs to be fixed, either romantically or otherwise. No matter what he does, he's always getting his emotional energy drained from him. He is also kept in a state of imbalance by the back and forth hot and cold scenarios that come up. One minute she's going to be happy and everything is fantastic, and the next second everything gets destroyed. He has no clue what's going on, what's wrong, why it happened, and he's struggling, fighting, using all of his energy to make it better. Now, all that strength that he's putting forward to try and fix the problem gets redirected towards whatever she wants done. So he may not have done anything wrong in the first place, but he needs to feel like he did so that he'll work to fix it. Now, that could be putting in more hours to earn more money for the household. It could be spending more emotional time with her, more money on her, flowers, for example, going out and doing more stuff, Whatever it is that he wouldn't have originally done, she creates the problem that he then needs to fix. Doing this over and over again either causes him to put huge amounts of his strength, his energy into that relationship, or gradually rewires his mental programming so he's better suited to be a workhorse for whatever she wants. This process can take years. It is not something that is easily picked up on, and it can really sneak up on the guy. The thing is that she couldn't just say, I want you to mow the lawn. I want you to do all of my dishes. I want you to raise these kids and pay for them everything. I want you to buy me a house and buy me a car. And in return for doing all of that stuff for her, she might just love him again. Sorry, interrogator. He's not taking that water. He knows you're the one that made him thirsty. The guy would recognize what was happening and would refuse it, would resist what that person was trying to make him do. It's a far better method from their perspective to bring him in, let him get comfortable, and then gradually attack his weakness to wear down his resolve and force him to use his strength to defend himself in a very controlled way. The takeaway from all of this is that at the point in a relationship, when a guy is in a relationship and he starts to feel that gut-sinking, disgusting feeling that something is wrong and he doesn't know why or how to fix it, and he's trying harder and harder and nothing ever gets better, that is the point to leave. That is getting milked. That sick feeling is his instinct telling him that something is terribly wrong. And it is a distinctively different feeling than when he actually screws something up and tries to make it better. The better only comes when he dumps the woman and walks away. Anyhow, I hope this was an interesting video. Just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think down below. What experiences have you had to this effect, and how did you deal with them? If you like what I had to say, hit that thumb up button. If you want to hear more videos like this, subscribe. If you disagree, I want to hear that too. Until next time, this has been Marcel.